Alameen, Salatu Salam ala Rasulil Kareem amma ba'd. So we're going to take questions and answers now. Anything related to the topic is preferred first, but anything off the topic can be asked and we'll answer based upon the knowledge that we have. But we want to say for the brothers, we know about the sisters, but oftentimes the brother raises his hand, Sheikh, I got a question. Say, okay, go ahead. And then he gives like a 3-minute dissertation when, he was down south, or one time when I was locked up, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. We want the question, and this is Islamically right to say, just ask the question and allow us to answer. If you take too much time, when you bring the whole story, this is not the place for that. That's at another time you'll talk for the person. But the question answers should be the question, and then the answer should be given. So thank you, Jazakumullah khair, for your cooperation. So any questions around the topic? The sisters have the mic. We'll let them go first. We discussed too many things for people not to have real life questions. So as they say, ask now or forever hold your peace. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So the sisters are going first. Brothers, you should be gathering your questions, writing them down, or thinking what you're going to ask right now as the sisters take the floor. Fadali. Is the sister's mic working? Let us know. Okay. Fadali.
No questions.
No questions? No, get out of here. We don't believe that. No. We boycotted all the sisters. No questions? That's all y'all have is questions. In real life, no questions about nothing that we mentioned. All that internet y'all be on, all the devices y'all got, all y'all hate Apple phones and love Android, mashallah. Okay, that's better. Second khair. As the white people say, 1 second. Brothers, you can go first. They're gathering the sisters. Their question.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Westlam Kata. Westlam Rahmatullah Barakatuh.
Is there such a thing as the Sheikh was talking about?
Give him the mic. Pass that mic back to him. And then he gives it back when he finishes.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu khayrul mursalin Muhammad nabihi wa ummi wa ahlihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. My question is, as the Sheikh was talking about earlier about social media, is there a problem with being information overload in terms of going from site to site and you're not really, as you said, really laying into one thing, but you're just going on and on and on and on. Is there a problem with, doing that?
And if any brothers' phones need to ring, we ask you to put them on vibrate silence. Take your call respectfully, at least to the front door and most outside the door, because we're online. Any background noise is a distraction. And you don't hear it, but the people online do. Like now, brothers are talking. You should be in here benefiting, asking questions, or if you have something, please step out. Jazakumullah khair.
Okay. All right, Bismillah. In regards to information overload, then yes. First is echo chambers. Now, echo chambers, those are algorithms that create echo chambers where you're exposed to information that will confirm your existing belief. So if you're on a false belief, you're going to be guided to those websites because the algorithms will pick it up, which websites you're dinging from. That's the first thing, echo chambers. The second one is time management. Information overload can cause you to waste your time because you're constantly taking up information that will be impractical. You know, how much can a man take? You know, like they say that a man doesn't become a scholar overnight, right? And whoever is من دخل في العلم جملة خرج فيه جملة, that whoever takes knowledge at a whole loses it at a whole. Yes, so information overload is very, very dangerous and detrimental to the mind of an individual. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
Just to add to that, and then we'll take the next question. Also, I heard Sheikh Imam Abu Zubair, known as Shadid Muhammad, when he talked about that issue, him and Imam Akil Ingram, they said also this overload is one of the things that a person will get, but also they become overstimulated because of the overload, and that makes the person not able to sleep, what you referenced in the talk. Sometimes, and then they said, you know, it causes insomnia. But this overload also is connected to what we just mentioned, being too hyped up to where you can't sleep. And it's similar when they talk about mental illness in the medical field. Now, I'm not a therapist, but I did take some courses in coaching. They said most of the time when a person has a substance abuse, alcohol abuse problem, they also, this is codependent, meaning it comes with some type of substance abuse, normally comes with some type of mental illness. You know, they go hand in hand. So this overload also makes a person over stimulated, you know, to where you can't sleep. So some of these are the points that show you something is wrong with it, at least, at most, it's haram. It's haram. As Allah said, يعني وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى تَهْلُكَ. And don't bring yourselves to ruins by your own hand. Isn't this not ruins by the own hand of a person? Allah musta'an. Next question.
I had a question, Sheikh.
Hold it. Anything from up top? Anything from the sisters?
Does that also include someone giving you too much information?
That needs to be defined. What does that mean, too much?
Can you elaborate what is considered too much information? That Shaikhs Abu Aaliyah said you need to elaborate, sway up a little bit.
Salam. Assalamu alaikum.
Where's the Ukkasha?
I just mean if someone's giving you too much information, overwhelming you with information, as far as pretty much that.
Okay. So overwhelming is the highlight that you use to describe too much information. As they say, this Islamic principle means something could be assumed as that or not assumed, because a person can be overwhelmed while there's not what's considered overload. A person can be overwhelmed because of maybe someone is fatigued, they're overwhelmed. Maybe someone's overwhelmed because the language barrier, or overwhelmed because of frustrated, not comprehending. Maybe a person can be overwhelmed because they have some type of issue with regards to learning curves and challenges. A person could be overwhelmed because of taking too much information in at one time. So it's not all the way across the board. It depends on the person, what's considered too much information.
We give, for example, from his sunnah, and everybody agrees that the Prophet is their role model. The Prophet is the one you take knowledge from. Allah said, قَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ وَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. And we've made for you all Muslims the best example, the best one to follow, to be like in the Masjid of Allah. لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ يَوْمَ الْآخِرَةَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. And that's for anyone who has believed and they hope when they die, they meet Allah on the Day of Judgment, meaning go to Jannah. So, for example, Sallam once some people who were fishermen to ask the Prophet about making wudu from the seawater. They had drinking water, but they didn't want to use the drinking water because if they used the drinking water for wudu, what happens when they got thirsty? What happened when they got thirsty? If they used all the water to make wudu, what happened if they got thirsty? They wouldn't have no water to drink. Excellent. So they asked the Prophet, well, can we use the seawater to make wudu as opposed to using drinking water? And we're out at sea. And the Prophet did two things. He answered them about the water. He said, يعني الماء البحر طهورا والحلل ميتة. And the water is pure for you to use, not contaminated. Make wudu from it. And likewise, if you find any food that's in the sea, but it happens to be dead, as opposed to something dead on land, you can eat that which is dead in the sea. So the Prophet gave them more information. Somebody might say, well, why did he give them that? He only asked one thing, because he knew they would need both of them. So sometimes one may give more information than you ask, but it doesn't mean that it's an overload and everything is in its context from one person to another, one situation to another, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a'lam, he's the best knower. Next question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome to the Captain.
Can you use the same, I don't know how to use the word I'm looking for, the same explanation, the same, although not internet, but TV. You know what I mean?
What about TV?
Use it, constantly watching TV, over and over and over. Nothing else productive done, binge watching, for instance, on TV.
Okay. Are you referring to overload, or are you just referring to?
In general.
Well, this applies to anything to just media.
Yes.
You know, in any and everything related directly to media. So you have to understand too that our religion encourages what? Moderation. You understand? In everything. All aspects of life. What happens if you drink too much water? You're going to keep going back and forth to the bathroom. Overeating. The Rasul even, described for us how exactly we should eat when we consume food. 1/3 for what?
Water.
1/3 for?
Air.
And then 1/3 for air, exactly.
Morena بهذا حديث تفسير كثير لما كنا تكلمنا وذكر الشيخ الموضوع والإمام الجوي أن هذا إسناد ضعيف لكن المعنى.
So, what we have here is that anything excessive is what we should be avoiding. You understand? Ghulu, excessive. So moderation on all aspects of life.
So there's 4 cookies. I take 3, that's excessive. And leave you 1. That's excessive, that's good.
You take,
I take 3 and leave you 1. That's good.
You have to consider the other person. But a person shouldn't take more than what their actual consumption is, whatever they need.
أما الحديث لما خرج النبي ووجد أبو بكر وعمر وكانوا جوعان ذهبوا إلى بيت الصحابة وأكلوا ثم قام بي في النهاية ثم تسألون يومئذ عن النعيم. وفي حديث قال وأكلنا إذا كنا يعني شبعا. فهذا يعني أحيانا ليس كل وقت لكن easy for me to say the two. I'm here for working.
Okay. So, come back with the translation. I thought you were just talking to me directly. Go ahead.
يعني العدم أكل الشرب لا يعني
Not, what?
مالية
Not eating until one is full.
ليس على إطلاق.
It's not unrestricted. It can be sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, not all the time. So remember, the basic point, don't walk away with that, is what? Being moderate. Moderation. Avoiding excessiveness in all things.
Any question? Next question. What I just said to him, it's easy for me to say all that to him in Arabic, but the general rule is moderation, everything. But there's some times when we may do more of something than at other times. For example, eating and drinking. The Prophet went out one night, he was hungry. The Prophet Abu Bakr and Umar out. He said, what brought you out at this time? Late at night. They said, we were hungry, we couldn't sleep. So they went to a companion's house who they knew was wealthy, he had animals, and they were invited in. That companion prepared meal for the Prophet Abu Bakr and Umar. They ate, and then the narration said they ate till they were full. Then the Prophet quoted the ayah, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُونَ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. On the day of judgment, you will be questioned about everything that you enjoy. So the Sheikh mentioned moderation, but sometimes you can do more than what's considered moderation. You can do more. So as long as the religion doesn't blame you or it doesn't become a habit, you can do more. For example, the Prophet used to pray 11 rak'ah in the night. That's his standard. But there's a narration where he used to pray 2 short ones, like to warm up before he prayed the 11, which will make 13. We used to do that in the match. So that's more than the norm, but it's not considered extreme. You see what I'm saying? Intercourse. Some brothers have a high sex drive. Some women have high sex drive. So at peak time, they might have more activity than normally. It's not blameworthy at that time when they have more. So when we're just talking real, so you can understand contextually. But if someone, always like, like one person said 5 times a day, like your salat, for 30 days, you're going to be a raisin, first of all. It's going to dry you, like, you're going to be, like, weak, and it may make you sick. But if someone has some desire to do something, buying clothes, for example, you can't just go shopping every day. But you might want to go shopping, this week because they have all of the sales. And so it's not always if you violate the issue of moderation that you're wrong, but the general rule is moderate. And moderation goes from one person to the next differently. How can I?
All right, also here, Abu Hurairah, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said that a man before becoming Muslim used to overeat. And after he entered into Islam, he would eat very little. This was mentioned to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, the believer eats in the intestine, and the kafir eats from several intestines. And this hadith is collected in Bukhari. So this hadith addresses overeating and undereating. So you see, we try to strike a balance between the two, so it's no moderation. The Muslim eats when it's necessary, brothers. And whatever you take, it's necessary. So the Muslim eats when it's necessary, and the disbeliever binges to satisfy his vile desires. As regards to that hadith about no man fills his container worse than his stomach, a few morsels that keep his back upright are sufficient from him. If he has to eat, then he should eat for 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. This hadith is created by Imam At-Tirmidhi, who's a great muhaddith. So, moderation. Eat moderately.
However, the hadith, he cited, and Imam At-Tirmidhi is a great scholar, but in Damaj, they told him, Sheikh al-Mubbil, Sheikh Yahya, we found that the hadith is naive. But Imam At-Tirmidhi came many years before us, said it's Hassan. So the point is that the Sheikh going to get people in trouble because now it's saying eat only when you need to. Listen, sometimes I eat and I don't need to. I just want to eat. Yeah. So again, it's Allah made it mubah, allowed for you to eat, not eat, but it's when you overindulge. And some of these things are culturally, when we talk about, for example, only using a little bit of water. The Prophet said that, but what was the maqsood? What was the reason he said this much water? Because there were people in the desert who had a shortage of what? Water, yeah. So now does that mean, well, I can waste because I ain't in the desert and just open the faucet and let it run? Well, no. But you use a handful, you're doing something. But if you use 2, 3, or 4 or 5 based on what you need, then nobody can say that this is wrong. This is not moderation. So again, you have to use your common sense with the text. Don't use your, what we say, common sense or intellect to override the text. Use it to fit the text based upon what you know, your situation, and what the religion allows without purposely trying to overdo it and go over. Any questions?
I had a question.
Sister's turn now, right?
The sister's turn?
Yes, it's sister's turn.
Sister's turn. Somebody about to tell their husband, I can feel it.
Sister's turn.
Floor is yours, sister. Next question. Around the topic or off the topic?
Exactly.
If it's Arabic, if it's fiqh, understanding, if it's belief, aqidah, iman, if it's salah, if it's ta'amul bayna zawjayn, issues between the spouse, how to deal, if it's ikhtilat, mixing and those things between the sexes, if it's the issue of bay' or shira, buying and selling, financing, if it's an issue of marqat qalbiyya, spiritual sicknesses, if it's an issue of marqat badniyya, sicknesses of the body, cancer, leukemia, how do I pray if I have this? Any questions? This is your time. Brothers next while they prepare.
I think Alex said he had a question.
Brother Mel.
Jazakallah khairan. When it comes to Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
You have this one.
And by the way, you could just ask the question. I know Shaikhs Abu Aaliyah, Shaikhs Al-Bani mentioned the hadith that that you shouldn't ask the question without salam.
But now we're in the
and this hadith also is alluded to in the famous book of Bukhari, Adab al-Mufrad. But that's not talking about in the setting of seeking knowledge. You just ask. Even you shouldn't that's if you're going to answer. Then you do that. But if you ask the question, you just ask.
So here, take the mic for the people online and the sisters upstairs.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Thank you.
My question is, when it comes to the addiction of online content, when it comes to the social ills that are being spread online, is there a hadith or possibly something in the Quran that speaks on having the reward of prayer, dhikr, reading Quran, the same way people feel like they're having fun, like you said, Sheikh, because they're having that mental stimulation from watching the online videos? Is there a way to encourage new Muslims or possibly the youth that's being introduced to Islam, regardless of age, on getting that same stimulation?
Sound like a book report. What's the question? Because we're going to answer you, but it's too much.
How can we explain it to people that they can get the same feeling from prayer, from studying the Deen of Allah, the same feeling that they get from watching the videos, that dopamine that they seek in by watching that content?
That question is it's a loaded one. It's packed with a lot of different things, and it may be over some people's head, but when we talk about that issue of having some satisfaction or comfort. Somebody's out there talking, tell them to get in here and listen. They've been talking a long time. Or to go outside is a distraction. When we talk about a comfort or some type of calmness from different things, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that the Prophet used to find that in his salah. Qurrata ayun. Qurrata ayun means your heart becomes tranquil away from whatever's bothering you. His salat will do that for him. So how do we get to that level? Is there a such thing for us? How can we reach that? Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he said the first thing is that a person has to learn how to master the internal issues of the salah more than the external. So when we talk about understanding, for example, what you read in salah, when you talk about understanding how to apply it, those are the things that give you comfort. But if you don't understand, you lose that advantage. If you don't understand, you lose that advantage. And we're talking about, reading the Quran. Again, we're talking about in Arabic. There's a feeling you get when you recite the Quran, meaning what Allah revealed in Arabic, that you don't get when you read the translation. There's no slight to the translation, but even if you don't understand, just reading what Allah said and Fatiha, for example. If you have anxiety, or something piss you off, you're upset, or you're very down, if you just start reciting Al-Fatiha, finish it, and you start it again, you finish it. Let's say you read it 7 times. That anxiety, that sadness, those different things you have, it'll dissipate. Because of the blessing of what you're reading, because that's actually Allah speaks in the Quran. The Fatiha. And Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned it to be Sab'a Mathani, meaning something that's 7 in number, that's not repeated more than any other portion of the Quran. He said, "Wal Quran al-Azim." And he called it the greatest portion of the Quran. So doing that, it will quell what you're going through. It will bring some solace to the person. But, moreover, when you understand what Allah is saying, that will help you more too. And that's why we encourage the non-Arab-speaking Muslims, whether you be African-American, Caucasian, Latino, you be Asian, to make some effort to get in the class, learn the Arabic, particularly of the Quran. So when you're praying, you get something when you're standing in front of Allah, meaning you're standing and you're praying. When you're praying to Allah, it affects you. It makes you want to pray more. It makes you want to pray more. And that's what the Prophet would do. Something bothered me, just go pray. You wonder why he would pray so long. Because the whole worldly issue was behind him while he was in prayer. We're in prayer, the whole worldly issue is in front of us. You're praying, you left your cheesesteak on top of the stove in the microwave, and you're thinking, man, I hope my wife don't get that thing before I get back home. You're praying, you're thinking, your phone is vibrating, but the Prophet had the whole world behind him, out of his mind, not in his heart, thinking about it while he was praying. So when we talk about that answer to that question you asked, that's one of the ways that we can gain that satisfaction with regards to dhikr, remembering Allah, making the salah, reading Quran, or listening, or hadith. Firstly doing it, knowing that that's the route we should take when we're upset, when we're anxious, when we're depressed. And secondly, trying to gain the more understanding of that thing which we're reading or trying to listen to or recite. And this is what our scholars of the past and the present have left us. Wallahu a'lam. Sisters, question yet? You must be asleep. Sisters!
No questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're live. Alhamdulillah.
Is it haram to have your picture on Facebook?
Is it haram to have your picture on Facebook?
Or pictures of women, female?
Is it haram to have pictures on Facebook or pictures of female? Tell you, this is a whole big issue, believe it or not. And most people will tell you, based on what they want to tell you, something different than what you would hear now from me. And often speaking, because these are all over the internet. They're all over Facebook, people's pictures. I can't see. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He spared me from the ability, the temptation, the evilness, the slickness, the foolery of wanting to look at somebody on the internet and scroll for, hours, half the night, the next day. But brothers have told me, and I've heard from even my family, that this is a big issue. You'll get a sister on Facebook, particularly we're talking about, and this other platforms. She presents herself with a khimar, maybe a niqab, and that's supposed to be a sign of righteousness, by the way, in our religion. But if you go past that picture, you're going to see her in nice outfits. You may see her in a bathing suit. You may see her something tight. In some cases, I even heard they're just straight up nude pictures the more you keep flipping. So, when we talk about this issue, the Prophet he mentioned many hadith about the issue of images. And the image we're talking about is clearly a human being. Something that the Prophet described, something having a soul. The Prophet he mentioned, لا يدخل بيتا فيه لا يدخل الملائكة بيتا فيه كلب ولا صورة. That the angels, and here we're going to go down the list, angels of mercy, angels that protect you, the angels that give you glad tidings, all the angels that come to benefit you, they will not enter your house because of two things. A dog in the house, no matter how cute he is, oh, he's cute. No matter, how his eyes look, oh, look at his eyes. Any dog, no matter how big and mean he is. I live in the hood, so, I got to have a dog in the house. Any dog in the house. And any image, that has a soul, humans, animals, anything that breathes, eats, drinks, sleeps, the Prophet said those angels won't enter the house. When we tell you to go home and put your dog out in the cold so it can die, when we tell you to take the dog and put him in the rain so it can get, sick or cold, no. But that's for you to understand. The dog can't be in the living room, the dining room, or the bedrooms, on the couch, sitting in a chair. No. You have to have a designated spot where those angels, you don't lose the benefit of them entering the house. Because the Prophet said they will not enter the house because of that issue of dogs and images. So those images that we're talking about on the Facebook, those are the same images. Those are the same images. The Prophet said, "Inna ashad al-nas adaban yawm al-qiyamah mada am-musawwarun." Now, the ones that will have the most severe punishment in their judgment, those who make the images. Now, some people will say, well, the images today, they're electronic, they're digital, they're made by satellites and different things that have to do with, technology. But Shaykh al-Mukbil, he said, no, an image is an image. He said the same way that the Prophet was talking about people who paint these images in his time, he said, well, don't you use your finger to push the button on the camera? Don't you use that same hand to take that photo? So he made it all the way across the board. So if that's the case, just those texts of course, to have them on Facebook. Moreover, displaying yourself with those pictures, enticing people, showing yourself in a way that we would say Islamically there's no way that can be okay. Clearly, it will be haram. Clearly, it will be haram. So, you shouldn't put them on the Facebook. If you have some ID, license, or passport, then that's necessity. Someone is missing, you have to take that picture and put it on the Facebook because they're missing. That may be an exception to the rule. But what we're talking about for your own advertisement and people seeing you, and even in the name of, I'm looking for a Zoj, I'm looking for a husband or wife. No, these ways we're doing it, they're just straight up wrong. And may Allah protect us because we following every, as they say, Zayd, Amr, and or Tom, Jane, and Susan. We shouldn't be doing these things, and it only brings fitna. Wallahi, it only brings fitna, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us, to protect us from these evils, to accept our repentance, make us repentant, to Him, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us all. Allahu ta'ala. Next question. We're going all the way up to the hour, to the clock. We're praying Isha, and then we'll see you back tomorrow too, if it's all right with me and you. Make sure you come and don't leave your boo. Right around. Any questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hayakum Allah. Allah greet you. How
How do you gain good character?
Ooh, we needed that. SubhanAllah. So we ready for Etikaf. Everybody got their sleeping bags. And answer that when we stay here all night. How do we gain good character? Allah. Serious question. فَسَلْسِ لَا يَدْخُلُوا أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ يَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةِ بِحُسْنِ خُلُقٍ. Most people enter the paradise based on their iman first and their good character. So we'll let Sheikh answer this question.
The first thing we begin with is dua for such a thing. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us a hadith, Allahumma anta hasanta khalqi fahassin khuluqi. He said, oh Allah, the way that you have perfected and beautified my physical form, then beautify my character.
Amen.
That's the first thing to begin with, is dua. The second, you can pick up, is a person with good character. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, رَجُلٌ عَلَى دِينِ الْخَلِيلِ فَيَنْظُرُ مَنْ يُخَالِلُ. Or كما قال النبي sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That a man is on the religion of his companion, so look to whom your companion.
If you left in Moray.
So, in another narration, al-mar'u, person. So we have the dua and we have the individual, your companionship. You look at companionship, this is one of the most important aspects of gaining good character, because we see that if we look at our children, where are they infected at the most? School, peer pressure, right? People who need companion, right? Influence. So that's the second. The third, it starts after dua. It should have come before dua, but I'm giving you a basic order here to take. Attaching your heart to the masjid. Attaching your heart to the dhikr of Allah. Important things we can begin with our relationship with Allah, strengthening good character in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, apart from the Quran, is maintaining and safeguarding the morning and the evening adhkar. Husn al-Muslim. As Shaikhs Ukkasha, may Allah reward him for the treasures that he left behind. I think this book has been translated in numerous languages. I don't even want to say it, but it's up there. Over 30, and Allah knows best.
In English, it's called Fortress of the Muslim.
Fortress of the Muslim, yeah. Fortress of the Muslim.
They might not know Muslim.
So, just think about that. Okay, so we got that. We got dua, companionship, dhikr of Allah. Dhikr of Allah, the best dhikr of Allah is the Quran. Along with that is the morning and evening adhkar. Another one, and the last one, I'll stop and Cash you can add to this point, inshallah. We'd appreciate that. Is books like Riyadh al-Salihin and following the biographies of the Salaf. Following the biographies of the Salaf. Those are the real role models. Book Riyadh al-Salihin. You know, this is how we can gain good character, but begin with the dua, because well, dua huwa al-ibadah, kama qala an-nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's worship. So we start with the dua and look at our companions. So I don't know what's best.
Bismillah, to who is that? Tell me that's coming from outside. There's a hole in the window's open. That can't be our people. We've been talking the whole time. I'm about to go out there and then y'all gonna say the Sheikh is buying punch somebody, right? Allah style. This is wrong, man. They should be in the choir benefiting. They in more need because they're out there talking and we got some food for their soul. It's crazy. When you talk about how do we gain good character, we want to break this all the way down to the everyday understanding that we could really comprehend. Because we're quoting text and saying terms, but we want to make this something that tangible. Like, for example, I have a bad temper. I don't have self-control. If someone says something I don't like, the first thing I think about is lashing out. I'm going to punch him in the face. Let me say that. It's a bad character. If someone says something to me to help me out, it's for my own good, I don't want to hear it. I want to talk back and snap to them. If someone doesn't give me my way, I want to throw a fit. These are all bad characters, by the way. If someone's talking, we're supposed to be in a conversation, I should be listening, I cut them off. These are all bad characters. And many of us, we've had or we have these characteristics. How do we change it? What do we do? Is it changeable? Am I going to be like this? Well, that's just how I am, so what? How do we deal with that? The first thing, again, the Sheikh you mentioned is dua. But you can't make dua except that you're sincere in your dua. You have to really feel bad and want to change. You have to know that that character is bad. Some people don't know that their character is bad. They think, well, you know, I'm from the hood, that's how you got to be. Yeah, that's true, but you're from the hood, that's how you have to be in the hood, but you're a Muslim. Anything that's un-Islamic, anything that's pre-Islam for us, we can't be upon that, we have to change it. And we have to despise it. So the first thing is knowing that it's bad character. We have to know that Allah said that it's wrong. We have to know that the Prophet said it's wrong. And sometimes, if it's wrong amongst the people, it's called an urf. What's the known custom to be rude or bad in the society, then Islam recognizes that. Or marua, the natural, what people would see as undignified. If it falls in those categories, no, it's bad character. So it has to. So the first thing is to know what is bad character. The second thing is when we make dua, they mention hudul qalb. You have to really feel that thing in your heart. Sometimes we just make dua, we ask Allah, but we don't really put our heart into it. You have to really feel that thing in your heart when you call it out to Allah. The Rasul, he was asked about how do we worship Allah. We know this hadith. How do you worship Allah? After he was asked about Islam and Iman, so how do you worship Allah? He said you worship Allah ka'annaka tarahu, like you see Him. So here, worship doesn't just mean pray salah. It includes anything that Allah commanded you, which is how to deal with one another. That's an act of worship. So when you understand that part, that it's an act of worship, then you really have to have those private conversations with yourself. Once you have that private conversation with yourself, and you start making supplication, asking Allah, and your heart is in it, then you have to take the steps to control yourself. You have to take the steps to change yourself. And gradually, your character change. One of the ways that you will be successful in that, as we used to say before Islam, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. And the Prophet mentioned that. When yati al-nas kama yuhibbu yuta ilayk, that you do to the people the same way you would want them to do to you. Consider people's feelings, even if you disagree. Don't invalidate what your wife says. And a lot of times, as men, we do that. If she's saying, oh, well, whatever. No, and that's an act of good character. Even if you disagree, don't invalidate what she feels. Validate it. The same thing with the wife. You know, don't invalidate because men should be tough and, well, don't be soft. No, don't, invalidate the feelings of your husband. These are all parts of good character. Try to become an active listener. One of the things is when someone is speaking, even if you disagree, hold it. And we learned that in when we were doing therapy called active listening. You pair up, and you can do these, lastly, exercises together if you're on the same page. You get somebody, whether it's your spouse or friend, they sit on one side of the table, you sit at the other side, facing one another. And you give them a minute. You time one another, a minute, and just let them talk. And you listen. Excuse me. They might be saying things that you disagree with. You want to cut them off. You want to take a deep breath. You want to suck your teeth. But you don't do any body language. Don't say anything. You hold it. When the 1 minute is up, then you do the same. You talk to them, you tell them, and they have to listen. These are ways you can build the skills of good character and dealing with one another. And lastly, as the Salaf said, the best way to build good character is to be a certain way obedient when nobody's around. If you can be obedient and have good character when nobody's around, then when you deal with people, you have that good character. It becomes second nature. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How does Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me?
What's up? Yes.
Okay, alhamdulillah. How do sisters deal with bullying in the masjid amongst the other sisters? Or sisters, one or two? How should a sister deal with that?
A bully?
Yes.
Okay.
Bullying in the masjid. It goes on all over.
How can a sister deal with bullying in the masjid? Now, I'm going to take this question just because you've been going a long time. This probably, to you, like, Ish? How can a sister bully a sister? You've seen this in Dua and Qatar? Never. So, first of all, I mean, may Allah help us and forgive us. Ameen.
Amen.
This is a horrible thing to be bullied any place. In the masjid, in the workplace, in your home, at school, this is, and number one, for starters, this is prohibited. Because bullying means that you're oppressing somebody. That's what bullying in Islamic terms, you're taking advantage, you're oppressing somebody. And the Prophet, he said, once help your brother. He said, help your brother. Whether your brother be the oppressor or the oppressed. Those companions he was talking to, they said, okay, we get helping the one who's being oppressed. Somebody's harming you. You're the victim of being bullied. If that person comes, we're going to beat him up. If that person's come, show him to me. I'm going to call the police. If that person comes, show me. We're going to go and tell him, if you mess with them again, we're going to punch you in the face. Be messing with my cousin. Don't be messing with my friend. Don't be messing with my neighbor. Don't be messing with my little sister. You're helping the one who's being bullied. But the prophet said, help the bully and the bullier. Help the oppressor and the one being oppressed. He said, how do you help the one who's the oppressor? What do you mean? He said, Yamna'ahu. Stop him. If he left him, Zajjahu. Yani, repel him. So the bully is an evil person. The bully is the bad guy. And Islam can't be tolerated. So we have to find ways, firstly, in the masjid that people can be educated against this. But one of the problems is people don't come to the masjid to learn, especially in America. And when you have cliques, then that clique will come when they want to do something and make their little food and their little decorations. But then when you bring something, they won't come. When you have some type of program, they won't come. So it's hard to get the people to come to be educated to these things. It's hard to get the people on the same page. So one of the things you're going to have to do is sacrifice. When you know those people around, unfortunately, don't come to the masjid. When you know those people are there, avoid them if you can. When you know those people are going to come, if you're there, leave. That's one way to deal with the bully. If you know they're going to be there on Thursday, don't go on Thursday. If you know they're there and you see them and you hear them, leave. If you know they're going to have a program, don't go to the program. But also, one of the ways that this can be dealt with, some general education for others who are not the bully, because once people learn the evil of this, they may not fall into it, and they may be against it, and with pressure, sometimes those bullies may stop or go somewhere else because the bully doesn't want to be exposed. The bully doesn't want to be challenged in most cases. The bully doesn't want to be defeated. And it's upon the people who are in charge of those masajid to monitor and check about these affairs and try to quell them, to educate the people, and to, as the Sheikh mentioned, and we mentioned before, we ask Allah, make dua, ask Allah. Allah can remove that person. Allah can change that person's heart. Allah can make that person repent. Let's put the dua at the top of the list, but those are some steps with regards to bullying, whether it's the sisters being bullied, or men being bullied, or children being bullied, or the leadership being bullied. Sometimes we get bullied. People want to beat up on the imam. Every time he do something's wrong, he should be replaced. That's bullying. We don't look at it like that. It's bullying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us. Allah almost got us right. Forgive us. Allah almost died. Question.
Yeah, bro. Go ahead.
Question, not book report.
Yeah.
It's not, I think you got a book open. You sure?
Sure.
Okay.
Take this mic.
You got 30 seconds.
How should we approach the internet? Let's say you're looking up an issue you want to get more knowledge on, and you open up, you go to the internet, and 20 different pages and people pop up. Now, how should we approach and which ones we should go to and which ones we shouldn't?
All right, bismillah.
1 minute.
Before going to the internet, why not go to the local imam first? See what I'm trying to get us to understand here is we got to come back to social interaction amongst human beings. Because like I said earlier, Google Sheikh is dangerous. And that information overload that I mentioned, part of that is being redirected due to the algorithm, okay, the ecosystems, taking you and putting up all those sites. And you probably, or we, have went to sites before that other algorithms have led us to, sites with similar types of information. Like what Shaikhs Ukkasha mentioned earlier, you got people putting out false information and intentionally to misguide you. Quoting fabricated hadith. So I say begin with the imam first in your local masjid. We got to go back to this. Because Allah said what? فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ. He didn't say فَاسْأَلُوا أَبُو شَيْءٍ. فَاسْأَلُوا www.islamqa.net. Go back to the email.
That's to the left side.
Yeah, it's there. So this is the simple. This is the simple answer. We got to get back to that. Go to the masjid. Let him, if he can't get you, let him go back, get on the phone. Let him finance it. Put the burden on him. That's his job.
That's right.
He's the imam leading prayer. No, he's here to teach you and educate you. Not just come here so we can make Salat Jamaat and now we'll go home and www. Or net, whatever. Nah, let's go back to asking the resident imams.
This thing blinking, how many dots is
No, it's not blinking. It's, yes, no, it's 3, it's 4.
Okay. I need to add to how you pick and what you do when you go on some social media or the internet and try to find some information. Sheikh said, go back to your local imam. In real life, like go to somebody that's not on the device. Go to somebody that's at the masjid, is responsible. This also means we have to hold the imam accountable for learning knowledge. Mm-hmm. We don't have to put them on a plane like in the old days, go study, go to Egypt, go to Yemen, go to Pakistan. But we got to raise the bar. Because some imams don't have no knowledge. And even if he didn't study nowhere, you could pick up books now. You could, like Real Salihin, for example, that you mentioned, is translated into English with the explanation by Sheikh Ukkasha. Sheikh Hassan got it. That thing nice. So sitting in his dollars. What a Sheikh. MashaAllah, benefiting. And adding something if I need it from the Arabic too. But very beneficial. It's like you sitting with the Sheikh. You read from his words. Why would I have it in the masjid? Well, I don't know Arabic. Okay, brother, you don't need to. Get that, read that, understand it, ask somebody who can clarify, teach it to the people. Man, got to be qualified. That's a level of qualification. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing, when we talk about this issue, it has a lot of layers to it. You see what I'm saying? And like Shaikhs Abu Aaliyah said, that's his responsibility. So, and not only a responsibility, sometimes people don't like that statement, but that's a ni'mah for him and you, a blessing for him. The Lord chose that imam to be in that predicament and chose you from his community to be able to go ask him. So, take advantage, Also, to this question, I was asked this, and it's coming to mind, about somebody who's teaching Arabic online. You want to learn, somebody has a nice course online. And it was Nu'man Ali Khan. Nu'man Ali Khan. Now, it's proper for me to mention his name. I'm not going to remember. But I'm mentioning this because it has to be mentioned. So by the same token, the questioner who asked the question, he called me and said, can we, learn from him Arabic? I'm looking at some of his videos. It's nice, but I want to know. Because my other friend said, you better watch out. Maybe you need to ask the Sheikh, because the other friend knew something more about Nu'man Ali Khan than the initial person that asked the question. So I said, being fair, well, I did hear some people say something about him, but I never went to verify if that's true, and I never listened to him. Send me the link to what you were listening to. So I went to listen. The beginning of his first talk was good. Islamically with Arabic, it was good. And I said, wow, this is really nice. Somebody can use this, But then I said, let me go and see what and why he said something about it. So I went and typed up refutation of Nu'man Ali Khan. So the first person came up was Abu Tamiyah from UK. Then Musa Richardson. Mm-hmm. Then Sheikh Abu Osama Dahabi. So this is Abu Osama Dahabi. So said, can we take knowledge from Nu'man Ali Khan? Is he qualified? Because we don't know him to be qualified. Can we take knowledge from Sheikh Abu Osama? Answered general. He said in the religion, if somebody is majhul, a majhul hal. Majhul hal means either he's not known. We don't mean he's known in Chicago, but he's not known in Denver. Meaning nobody knows him. You can't take knowledge from him. Meaning, no one knows that he's credentialed. Formal or informal education, shouldn't take knowledge from him. Or mashhur hal. He has studied, but we don't know what's his circumstance. Is he astray? Does he believe this? Does he teach that? What does he believe and teach? We don't know anything. He's in the closet with his teachings. He said you can't take from that person. We have to know the how, the situation, the condition, the credentials of that person. So that's number one. Number two, went this to Abu Taymiyyah. And goes a step further. They will ask him, can we learn tafsir from him? Now, from studying, Shaikhs Abu Aaliyah studied some in Yemen. He studied some in Qatar. He has his degree. He has his ijazat. He knows to be a student of tafsir will make your head hurt. How about now you're qualified to teach it? So I said, wait a minute. He's what? Then they started quoting his statements. And one of the main statements this man had was that when you teach tafsir, all you need to explain, tafsir means explain the Quran, is the Quran. You explain Quran by Quran. So inna anzalnahu fil laylatil qadr. We revealed it in the night of decree, meaning the Quran, in the last 2 nights of Ramadan. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. And Allah, the next ayah said, and what will explain to you, give you more details of what is the term Laylatul Qadr. Then Allah goes to explain, Laylatul Qadri khayrun min is better than 1,000 months. So that's considered Quran tafsir, which in English means explaining, explanation of Quran by other parts of Quran. That's the first way you do tafsir, Quran by Quran. That's right. The second way is what? Tafsir Quran by what? By the Prophet. So he said no. Only Quran by Quran. Yeah. Then I went and listened to him lie on the Prophet to prove this point. He said there was a man who used to annoy his wife. So much so, even in Salat, he would bother her. She's praying, he's listening to her, and he said one time she was reading the surah, and he said, hey, what is she doing reading that surah? That's my surah. Now, this is how stupid this sounds, first of all. So he's poking her in the Salat, bothering her like a kid would only poke with Abby. He's poking his wife while she's praying. This is no man's explanation. He said, so then they went to the Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, number one, my husband doesn't pray in the masjid. He's praying at home with me. Number two, he's poking me, bothering me in the salah. Now he's doing this to prove Quran should be only explained by Quran. Don't trust anything else, even hadith. He said the Prophet told that lady as a solution, the best prayer for the lady. The best prayer for the lady is in their most inner secret chambers of her house. Now, what does that mean in English? Pray where? In the closet. And somebody going to say right now, wow, I knew their religion was extreme. See how they treat women? That's why they always stick us in a little room, a little cubby hole. The men can pray in the whole masjid, in the living room. We have to pray in the closet. That's not the meaning. And let's say, for example, some people have a closet that's a walk-in closet. You could put a bed in that joint. So don't think about a closet, someplace you can't breathe. No, but the Prophet is saying, pray in a place in your house, in the room where nobody can bother you. You can be in real seclusion. Don't you know he said after that, that's why the Prophet told that lady that, so she could avoid her annoying husband. And because he was poking her, he said, you see the Sahaba, this Pokemon, he called him Pokemon. Man, this is kufr. This is kufr. This is disbelief. This is istihza, making mockery of the religion. And one of the Imams, Imam Malik, I'm going to start first, Imam Abi Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmed said, Man radda shay'an min al-Quran. Whoever rejects anything from the Quran for a kafir, he's a disbeliever. He's a disbeliever. Allah Ta'ala Rasul Mada. What the Prophet gave you, what? What did he say? Complete it. Follow it. فَخُذُوهُ, take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ, what did he say? What he told you to stay away from what? Come on, finish it. We told you to leave something. Do what? Leave it. Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa obey Allah and obey who? His messenger. Allah said, Yani, man yuti Rasul faqad ata Allah. Who obeys the Prophet is people to obey who? Allah. What are you talking about? Subhanahu Rabbil Azim. So all of this is part of what we're talking about. You go on the internet and you try to find somebody. Sometimes it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He looks like you could benefit from him. It sounds good. But I don't see nothing wrong. Yeah, we don't have enough knowledge sometimes. And that's why what the Sheikh said is very important. Go back to somebody in real time who's your imam or your sheikh. Go ask somebody. Go ask somebody.
Start there.
Yeah, start there.
That's rare these days. Wallahi. What he said, that's rare because easy accessibility.
Yeah.
You can get the answer in seconds.
Yeah, well, I go somewhere, I put my clothes on, it's cold, I just go online. No. Make the extra effort, sacrifice, Allah will bless you, but moreover, you won't be led astray that easy. Allah. Question.
Yes, Sheikh.
Oh, this,
Sisters.
Sister.
You have 9 minutes.
9 minutes. That's like maybe 3 more questions.
Sisters, the last question for the night if you have, and tomorrow you can come with your notebooks full of questions with the number circled, inshallah. 2 o'clock sharp.
Okay, what advice do you have about interfaith? Muslims,
Jazakallah khair. We're going to give an answer today, but we're going to go in more detail tomorrow. So I don't want to say that channel and that, like same channel, same, but make sure you come back tomorrow and get more details. Okay. Interfaith. Interfaith, first, what does interfaith, let's spell it out. Is it inter-E-N or is it inter-I-N? Which one?
I-N.
I-N. So what does it mean, I-N-T-E-R? Somebody tell me from the floor, what does that mean?
Intertwine.
To intertwine. For the brothers. She said intertwine. For the brothers, what does it mean?
That we're all together, Sheikh.
All together, okay. So when you go from, you're on Highway 70, you go from state to what? State. So interfaith, they mean take this religion and tie it to that religion. Intertwine this with that. Some people, they have dressed it up and call it comparative religion. Tabarak wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, Lakum dinukum mada waliyadin. So you be your way and you to be mine. In the beginning, Allah said, Kul ya ayyuhil what? Kafirun. Now, Allah said, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Allah said, we have placed in the Messenger of Allah an example for you to follow. The Prophet said, يعني خَالَفُ يَهُودُ وَالنَّصَارَى. Be different from the Jew and the Christian. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala said, لَقَدْ كَفَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهُ ثَالِثُ ثَلَاثَةٍ. And indeed, those who say the third of three, the Trinity, they are disbelievers. The Tabarak wa Ta'ala said, وَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ يعني فِي رُسُولِ اللَّهِ حُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Again, the Prophet is the best one for you to follow. The Prophet told the companions, صَلُّوا فِي نِعَالِكُمْ خَالِفُوا يَهُودُ وَالنَّصَارَى. Pray in your footwear, pray in your shoes, your sandals, be different from the Jews and the Christians. Now you can't come in the masjid in the day and time with shoes and pray on the carpet unless they're like my shoes when it's cold, house shoes that I don't wear anywhere but except on this musalla. Don't bring your Timberlands, your Nikes from outside and say, well, the prophet said that with mud and water and snow. No. But the scholars of this time said, if you want to practice that sunnah, pray some time in your house with clean shoes where you won't make a problem. What's the point? We have been commanded to be different from them in these affairs. The beard, the prophet seen a man with a white beard. He told Abu Kuhafa, Abu Bakr's father, he told him, dye a beard, but don't dye it black because the Jews dye their hair black. Dye it with any other color. The Prophet told us to oppose them in these issues. So how about now in the core parts of the religion? Allah wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran many ayat about being different from them. Telling them to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this whole thing of interfaith, it's a direct way to get you to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Holding the hand with the rabbi, holding the hand with Reverend Fatback and Deacon Fishbone. Yeah. And then we're all praying together. They say, Ameen. They say amen, you say ameen, and they say hallelujah, you say subhanallah, and you recite al-Fatiha, and they recite the Lord's Supper, and all of that's okay? One of the imams, he told me, he said, people went to the church. He said, come on, let's do interfaith, let's share religions and experience. So the Muslims went. They let the Muslims call the adhan in the church. They recited the Quran. They let them do all of that. They said, okay, now we got to come to your house. They let them, now Christians come, because you got to change the favor. If you say, we're going to come to your house, they say, well, we want to go to your house too. You say, okay. Then you go, you recite Quran, you call the adhan, they tolerate that. Then you know they hate it, because they hate Tawheed. They hate it, but they tolerate it. Now when they come to the masjid, guess what? They were singing Jesus and praying hallelujah, and the Muslims couldn't say nothing. Look at the trick. So there's no interfaith. This is something they made up to get us to be upon misguidance and really to nullify Islam in a way that makes it seem like we still been religious because we're all monotheistic. We're all Abrahamic. What's Abrahamic about kufr and shirk? What's Abrahamic about falsehood? What's Abrahamic about making Islam equal to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said is low and Islam is up high? There's no equality in that. It's not. So all the doctors, all the lawyers, all your people who believe that, then we ask Allah to help them. But no for surety. Interfaith is just as false as saying Santa Claus flying through the air on Christmas and he went down everybody's chimney with presents. How did he go down the chimney in the projects? Ain't no chimney in the projects. But people believe that, right? So interfaith, don't believe that that's okay, it's peace, it's unity. No. And scholars have mentioned this point by point, especially mentioned the diamond, the ulama of the committee. Now they might have changed it because of all of this stuff in Saudi. But the old books, they went point by point by point with evidence to show that this is purely kufr, disbelief, and they said whoever is involved in it, this is the ridda. You leave Islam, wal hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Allah make it easy for Allah ta'ala. And we're going to not be afraid of any critics. وَلَا يَخَافَ اللَّوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. Don't be afraid of the blamer. Wallahu musta'an. Last question. You were going to tell them I said it. As they said, the black imam told the brother, the black. That's how they describe it. Really? That's a racist statement. But I'll be your black imam.
Yeah.
I'll be your black imam.
You made too.
Fuck
Is
that.
that
Hold on, sister. Another point.
Hold on, he's going to make another point. Go ahead.
All right, real quick is that all of the prophets came with one religion, Islam. You know, the Prophet Muhammad, authentic hadith, he said that all of the prophets are brothers with different mothers, but one religion. The only thing different between the Anbiya and the Rasul was the Sharia. The books. But this goes back to, it really picked up in 1995 under the New World Order. Okay? And they wanted to put everything into one book to try to change the Quran. So the first center to emerge was in Egypt. Then the plot further thickened. They was calling the believers at that time. Then they changed it to Abrahamic faith, world religions, and now today they call it the Abrahamic Accords. So no, this is, like he said, this is complete kufr. But it's a conspiracy of some honor to get the Muslims to fall into shirk. And we see that's exactly what's happening around the world. Allah Musta'an. That's the point. Inshallah, tomorrow, like you said, we'll go further into this point. But I have some beneficial notes from Shaikhs Ukkasha Abu Aaliyah, rahimahullah, that we can talk about it. But it really picked up big in 1995 under the New World Order. This is a fact.
Tell the sister.
Yeah, further, sister.
Last thing.
Just had a question, and then we'll close. Been lots about the hour. Sister, you were about to say something. The Sheikh wanted to comment on the tail end of my reply. Please bring your question now, inshallah. Then we'll make the other comment. We'll pray Isha. We'll clean up and go home and be back on time tomorrow. Not nigger time, not Arab time, 2 o'clock. PM, not AM, 2 o'clock. So we get the maximum benefit, and you can bite your fingers and eat this tasty meal. And by the way, all the monies, the donations to the chef, leave that thing before you go. Don't be shy to leave it. Don't take it home. Fadali sister.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. So, being a Muslim, like being the only one, in your family can be a little.
You're going in and out, and you just said a little, and then you went out.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay. So, being the only Muslim in your family, and dealing with the non-Muslims can be a little, just a little challenging. So, kind of, how do you deal with that, like, on a daily basis?
MashaAllah. Barakallahu feekum. She's being gentle with her words, which is part of Islam, a little challenging. And we don't mean any harm when we say that the Muslims who come from abroad, and not to separate, but for identification purposes. We call it foreign Muslim. They don't know about this challenge. They don't know about this, thing that's really a pain. Where you accept Islam, you're the only one in your family, and your family sometimes just treat you like you traded. Or, you're an outcast because you believe in that way and you left all the ways that we were, brought up upon. So how do we deal? The first thing, sister, I will say is that we need to put our trust in Allah. Allah said, وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى الْعَزِيزِ الرَّحِيمِ. Put your trust in the one who's the Almighty, the All-Knowing, the Esteemed One, and the one who has mercy and gives mercy. Because Allah is the only one that can help us with that situation. The second thing is that Allah said, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Seek help when you have any challenge through salat and patience. So how do you seek this type of help through salat and patience? Salat meaning pray. When you make salat, you're in prostration. Ask Allah in their prostration for whatever you need. Prophet said, "Iktiru du'akum fi sujudikum." Increase, make a lot of supplication when you're in prostration. So sometime when you see the imam is in prostration a long time, you probably wonder, what is he doing? Why does he take so long? Especially if the partner's thinking you're prostrating on freedom, older than that. But he's making dua perhaps. You should be doing it too. This problem, pour your heart out to Allah. Ask Allah to make it easy. Ask Allah to turn them to Islam. Ask Allah to protect you from their evil and to protect you from their things and plots and to protect them from you, because sometimes you can lash out. Sometimes you might do something and say something that's prohibited because they're pushing buttons. Or they disrespect the religion of Islam to your face. or they're, making little remarks and, doing things that they know is going to be hurtful to you. So you put your trust in Allah by salat, meaning you're asking Allah in salat. Dua in salat is most powerful. And sabr means that three things in conclusion. As the ulama, they said, sabr ala ta'atillah. Think of sabr as maintaining. Think of the word patience in Arabic, sabr is enduring. Thinking the word sabr, patience in Arabic means not giving up. So that means sabr ala ta'atillah, don't let them deter you from what you're doing as a Muslim. Don't digress, don't negotiate, don't backslide because of the pressure. Keep pushing, being what you're upon. Number two, anil maharimillah. Stay away from the prohibited things. Stay away from the prohibited things, because Allah will strengthen you and aid you. But if you go to the haram, because of that problem, if you go to the haram, the prohibited things, because of that pressure, you lose the protection of Allah. Allah said, in tansurullah fala ghaliba lakum. If Allah is aiding you, nobody will be able to affect you or overwhelm you or overcome you. But you gain the protection of Allah by firstly putting your trust in Allah after pure belief, and seeking Allah's help through and with the prayer. And the patience, again, you keep doing obedience. You stay away from disobedience. And this is probably the hardest part of this. وَالصَّبْرَ عَلَىٰ أَقْدَارِ اللَّهِ. Just remain someone who understands and accepts, as they say, it is what it is. Allah made it like that. That's our test. Don't be disenchanted with the decree of Allah. Allah decreed that for us through our parents. Her son was the prophet and Nabi. But Abu Lahab was someone who said the prophet shall we perish. The prophet may have no followers. All of the prophets and messengers had challenges, and some of them was directly from their own bloodline. Look at Nuh alayhi salam. His son got drowned. Why? Because he went against his father, who was the prophet. Alayhi salatu wassalam. Look at the wife of Fir'aun, Asiyah. Look at the examples we have of Adam alayhi salam and his trials with his children. So, Allah, He does what He wills. He is the one who knows. And out of that calamity, Allah said, وَلِكُلِّ بَلَاءٍ حَسَنًا. Out of every calamity, hardship, there's some good. We have to look and find that good, and then we hold tight to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we make ourselves accept the decree of Allah. The sweet, the humble, the muri, and the sour, and that which is painful, as well as that which is not painful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us. We'll give more points to that tomorrow, how to deal with those people when you're the only Muslim in your family and things happen. Allah musta'an. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا هو أستغفره وأتوب إليه وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy and His blessing, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us, forgive us for our shortcomings, and guide us right. Tomorrow we will start at 2 o'clock. For those people online, don't think 5 o'clock. We change it to 2 p.m. And shukr to the next time. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.